see if it's, you're on. Hey guys, welcome to Facebook Live. I'm so excited to be here. I am just going to give people a few minutes to get on. I have the iPad here to see if I can find it as well, so let me just refresh that. Do you see it? I'm at my friend Shanda's house.
Oh, yep, there you are. But you're sideways.
Oh, it is? Hold on, guys. We're just trying to get it worked out. It is showing it sideways?
I wonder if we need to do the phone that way.
Let's see.
See.
Is it straight now?
Let's see.
Okay.
Oh.
I guess I'm gonna have to hold it. Now I got a little tripod to help, so I wouldn't have to be so close to it. But we're gonna go with it here. I see Emily's here. I see Lindsay joined. I see Phyllis. Hi, Phyllis. I see Shanda. How come you're not on here?
Oh, because I didn't click on it.
But anyway, I am at my friend Shanda's house because I was a little bit concerned about my internet being strong enough to be able to handle this, so I came to her house. And hey, Elda, I see Elda just got there. And I'm so glad y'all are joining today. I'm really excited about this. I had the idea.
I think I can set this down for you so you don't have to hold
Okay, Shanda's gonna hook me up here. She's my little assistant today.
Can I turn this thing?
This should turn like that.
Stop it right there.
Yeah.
Is that good?
Yeah, that looks good. Might be a little crooked, but at least I don't have to hold it. But I think this is gonna work. Okay. Anyway, I'm really excited that the date that came to me was August 17th because it happened to be the day after the girls' gymnastics finished, and so I didn't have to miss any of that. So that was really cool. But the whole thing that I wanted to share today, well, first let me just introduce myself for people that might join in later who just don't know who I am. I'm Shanna Covey. My goal and intention is to help people navigate through life in the most empowering and joyful way possible. A few years ago, I started sharing insights from my personal journey, first with the book, A Call to the Heart, and then later through blogs and through social media. And I believe I did that for about 2.5 years, and then last summer, I completely stepped away from it. And today is all about explaining what led to that decision, and even more excitingly, what led to me coming back to it last month. So it was pretty much exactly a year that I stepped out of this role. And so we're just going to kind of go through some of the 5 takeaways that I feel like I learned and that have shifted my perspective into coming back into this role. So in the months leading up to me actually deciding to walk away from doing this last year, I could feel that I was getting really, really attached to the results of what I was doing. I don't feel like that attachment was in the development stage, like when I was writing material, whenever I was creating, on the creative side, I do not feel like I had that energy going on. So I think if you go back and you end up reading any old blogs or seeing any old posts, you're going to see that it's carrying an energy that I think will resonate. But as soon as I put it out there, I could tell that this fear was coming up to where I was wondering why what I was doing was not growing. And it wasn't reaching more people. And for me, what I wanted to create was a way to, this was my passion, and I believed that I could live a life like being supported by doing my passions. And so I was hoping to see this turn into a functioning business. And as that wasn't happening, this fear level in me was rising, and that was creating an additional attachment to wanting to see, different, just basically wanting to see growth and wanting to see something growing out of it. Not, of course I was happy with who it did touch and who it did help. I was definitely happy with that. But I could tell that this attachment.
Here.
Oh, sorry about that. This is all new, so trying to figure all this out. And I see Maria. Hey, Maria. And anyway, so I was trying to really look at that attachment, and I didn't know how to fix it. It's like I could see that was going on. I wrote about like letting go to the results of your outcome and everything. I just didn't have the tools to kind of like peel that back and figure out how to emotionally undo that within myself. But at the same time that I was going through that, there was like a parallel opportunity, a parallel way that I was being exposed to in terms of my approach to what to what I was doing and how I could contribute. Because one of the main things I wanted to do is I always want to be in service, and I feel like that's how we feel most purposeful is when we're in service. And so at that time I was looking at what I was sharing, what I was writing, all that kind of stuff was my way to feel purposeful and to feel in service. Well, the parallel opportunity that I was being exposed to was another approach that was in service but not in the world. It was more that you focused on your own internal healing in this like really deep dive way. It's and what it was referred to, or what I refer to it as, it's called the I Inquiry, and I actually had a mentor who very much could help walk anyone through that, and was very educated, or very more than educated, just was able to live that. And so the opportunity was that, or the way the I Inquiry works is that you utilize inner experience to face everything that creates emotional hurt. And what kind of the goal in the spiritual journey is always to resolve what creates emotional hurt. And that's when you resolve it, when you heal it, that transmutes it into light. And so the more that we do that, the more that we contribute to the collective awakening. And so there's one hand, there's a service where you're doing that as physical experience comes up, and then you're sharing that through what we're doing here and through any other outlet. And then there's another one where it's called the I Inquiry, and you're just doing this deep dive into your own inner experience. And it can be a more direct route in the sense that you're able to create inner experiences that you haven't waited for a physical experience to occur. So you can dive into aspects of yourself and start to question and resolve them within yourself before having to wait for an actual physical experience to bring that up. And so in that sense, it does become a more direct path. But the big caveat is that it can only work that way if you bring the whole of your being to it. You can't just be like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, because it takes like just a full alignment with your focus to be able to utilize it in a way that creates mastery. So at that time, about a year ago, I was not seeing things like develop I wasn't seeing that the service that I was doing was growing into something that could be, sustainable as a business, and I had this other this other way of looking at things where I could walk away from that and I could commit myself to taking what was described to me as like it takes just a super bold approach to try to just basically try to focus on your own inner healing, and that energetically connects to the collective. So one of the key takeaways that I can see now is that you always, always, always have to follow what resonates. And what I mean by that is what resonates creates a full alignment within yourself, within what you mentally agree to and what the rest of your being feels pulled towards. I was unknowingly out of alignment in that area. So the analogy that I like to share is what I call the meat-loving vegetarian yogi. So let's say you have come upon, this path of being a yogi, and you agree with all the tenets of it. You like everything. This makes a lot of sense, and one of these tenets is vegetarianism. Makes sense because of X, Y, and Z. So here you are. You're really excited about this new opportunity. Sorry, I just got a little bit off track because someone was just trying to call in. I'm sorry. So you always have to follow what resonates. And where was I? I'm trying to figure out where I was going with that.
Vegetarian.
Oh, the vegetarian meat. Thank you, Shanda. Thank goodness I have Shanda here. So this person essentially is agreeing to these tenets, and one of them includes being a vegetarian. But then let's say the next weekend, they go to a barbecue, and all of a sudden, of course, they're in Texas, so of course there's a lot of meat around, and they have this craving. They have this craving towards the meat, but then in that same second, they were like, oh wait, now I've agreed to be a yogi, and I'm agreed to be a vegetarian, so that's bad. So they cover it up with thinking about animal cruelty or thinking about whatever it is for why they have decided to become a vegetarian. But because of that disconnect, there is like this kind of this like a little bit of nastiness that seeps out, and they start maybe to mentally attack the people who have not chosen to become a vegetarian. So they're essentially judging them and making themselves feel better. But yet, when you really take a step back and look at what's going on, it's that being a vegetarian does not fully resonate with you in that moment, and you have made a mental agreement towards that, but the fullness of your being has not agreed to become a vegetarian in that moment. Essentially, my agreement to move towards doing the eye inquiry was essentially that I was being the meat-loving vegetarian yogi. I mentally agreed that this path could do so much. I mentally agreed that it was a bold path. I mentally agreed that it contributed strongly to the healing of the world, to anyone who could commit themselves to being able to do it. But what I couldn't see is that it didn't resonate with the rest of my being. It's like I mentally agreed, and I was hoping or totally blind to the fact that the rest of me wasn't caught up to seeing that I wasn't in full agreement with it. So that set me up to still be excited about people who are doing things like I used to be doing, or people who were being who were sharing like more active in the physical world in terms of just like sharing these type of teachings, sharing these type of insights, or just like being curious and passionate and active in the world. My view had almost like cut all of that off, saying like there are potential traps in it that that you're not facing, like you're getting attached to blah blah blah, and you haven't faced that attachment. And I would just kind of like internally get upset, like, yes, they're excited about life and they're having so much fun and they're super engaged, and then this other like nasty side, the part like I was describing with the vegetarian yogi, would come out and be like, oh, but they are probably not facing this attachment, or they're not facing this or that. And so I don't know how long I went on with that. I probably, most of last year, those thoughts would still come up. I hadn't taken the time to really understand this misalignment, which is why it was such a huge shock to me when I did fully take it in, that I was essentially like walking around with a crick in my neck, needing to go to the chiropractor and not knowing that that's exactly what was needed. And I thought I was just in full alignment. So I really think that we have to be super careful with the things that we mentally agree to, that the fullness of our being hasn't fully integrated and backed up. And so for me, now when I look back and I realize that when I came to the point of seeing that I was super attached to the result, to the outcome that I was looking for, now it actually, because it allowed me to break away from the story that I was drawing. And the story that I was drawing, that I'm super attached, the best way to face that is to drop the thing that I'm attached to essentially like be able to step away from it. Because if you're operating at the kind of like at a super high level, you're able to pick things up and put them down just as easily, and keep moving forward without kind of like getting wrapped up into it through attachment and all the emotions that come with that. I can see now what was actually happening is that my fear was just constantly recreating the same outcome. Like I would put something out there and I would have this excitement, or that I had this like lack belief that if it didn't grow, then I'm not going to be able to be in this life that I actually really desire. I'm not going to be able to create this life that I truly desire, which is sharing in this capacity. And that's what kept repeating itself. That is the energy that was repeating itself. So even though I said that the initial whatever it was that I wrote and whatever I initially shared came from this like undistorted energy, this energy that wasn't distorted by need, it was still hitting a block once it got released. Like it couldn't go further than that. So it kept recreating it. I was just gonna ask for just a couple of comments just to see like, is this making sense, or Is there a question that can help clarify? Because I kind of talked in more circles than I had originally envisioned. So I don't know if anyone has a comment to say like, yes, this is making sense, or no, you kind of lost me. Not seeing anything yet.
And there's a couple second delay, so it's okay just to
Oh, okay.
give it a minute.
Okay, hang on. I'm just going to see if anyone has a comment really quickly. Okay. Thanks, Phyllis. Oh, hi, Marilyn. Okay. Okay, cool. So if it does make sense, then Phyllis has a question. Awesome. Emily says it makes sense. Awesome. It's okay, Phyllis. I'm going to take a drink.
It's funny, you get really close to the camera.
When you have to look, right? Thanks, Elda. Okay. I'm just waiting. I think Phyllis is typing a question, so I'm just like giving it a second to come through. And let's see. So just when I'm waiting for that to come through, just to recap, always, always, always follow what resonates. You got to check in with that. Even if your mental agreements are, even if you're making these mental agreements, you're just creating these stories that are drawing conclusions that are agreeing to the mental agreement. And you're still like, if you are having some sort of like nastiness seep out, and just like the analogy I gave earlier, there is something off with the resonance and the mental agreement that got to investigate and you have to look into. Hang on. So is there a way to get your being to catch up to the mental commitment, or is it a sign that it's simply not a good commitment for you? Oh yay, that's good. I forgot that part of it. Okay, so going back and looking at the two paths, like as I said, the one that included the I inquiry, which is where you kind of not, I don't like to use the word bypass, but you can go faster on the path of the I inquiry only if you have the full passionate commitment towards it. You can go faster on that path because it utilizes inner experience faster than the actual physical experience can occur. But if you are not resonant, like if you're not able to bring the fullness of your being to that, the path is actually not going to be faster for you. The fastest path for all of us is the path that resonates the highest. So even if on paper that one path that I mentioned is very direct, and then if we utilize the path of a physical experience and it starts to go this way, and then a lesson here, and then this way, and then up, and then over, and then up, and then over, it's still always on an upward trajectory. And you know, even though we're having like little it's constantly going towards this upward trajectory of growth. In the other path that's really straight, they're still heading towards the same thing. The fastest we can go is only is to the degree that we resonate with what we're doing. So I actually went into a huge delay. So when I thought that I was stepping off of one path that on paper looked like it could be slower than this more direct path, I actually went into a super, super, super delayed situation because my whole heart wasn't in it. I actually became quite negative, and I mean, I think that my closest friends may not have even noticed that or known that, because it's not like I carried it with me like going into public or going just like going about my life. But those who are like close, you know, like my mom noticed it. I was just not, I wasn't excited about life, and I had this like, it was like I was trying to swallow a pill that I didn't want to swallow, and I was trying to write a story that, no, wait, this is the bolder path, this is the more courageous path, this is the more direct path. But the fastest path for any of us is what resonates. And so, does that answer? So is there a way to get your being to catch up to the mental commitment, or is it a sign that's simply not a good commitment? Yeah. So I would say it's a sign that it's definitely not a good commitment, because the juice of life is resonance, is passion, is inspiration, is excitement, and we just have to follow that full on. And knowing that all the correct lessons, the perfectly tailored lessons for each of us, are going to show up in all the paths. I mean, it looks like I didn't follow what resonates, and I still was able to route back towards it. Like, the lessons are going to show up, but the fastest is if we follow what resonates, stay open to the lessons that are going to show up, commit ourselves to looking at them, be willing to grow through them. That's going to be the most accelerated path for each of us. Let's see. And so another way in understanding how resonance works, this is something that I've learned from tuning into Bentinho Massaro's teachings, who has just like been amazing at helping to bring these insights to light for me. It's trying. Okay, sorry, I was going out to a buffering zone again. So, what resonates and what doesn't resonate, how we feel. So when something resonates, we feel good. When something doesn't resonate, we feel bad. That is a way in which that we can see our higher self speaking to us. And it's speaking to us about our perception on the situation. So if we're excited about something, we're in alignment with these higher frequencies. We're in alignment with joy. We're in alignment with kind of the way in which we're supposed to be moving. But if we start to have like a lot of negative emotions, it's our higher self saying that we're looking at the situation in an incorrect way. So we need to redefine it in a way that resonates better. And that could be a actual physical action change, or it could just be a reframe, a redefinition of what's going on. Let's see, what else? Okay, so in starting to opening up to kind of like, oh, maybe it wasn't the answer to step away, I started to go back and really look at what was happening around my attachments and needing things to move in a certain direction, and how can I look at that. Or one of the things I got concerned with, I started to correlate my attachment to outcome with desire and with passion. So I kind of saw, like, I went into this other misperception where I saw pursuing passion as filled with these traps that I would ultimately need, that I was ultimately trying to overcome with this other more direct path. So pursuing passion became kind of like fearful. It was fearful for me because I could see that when I did pursue it, I started to get caught in these traps of attachment. But really, that's a totally incorrect way to see it, and one where we needed to distinguish the difference between want and need. So want is just passion that wants to move, wants to express itself. There doesn't really need to be an exact reason for it. There's no reason in like, validating the self. It just is something that is innate in us that wants to move. Now, what we have to be careful for is when need comes in. So I wanted to express myself by sharing everything that I'd shared with the book, the blog, everything else, but I had a need for it to result a certain way. And so that need was resulting from a lack belief that I was holding it within myself. So I had some lack belief, like, oh my God, what if this doesn't happen? What does this mean? And so that lack was related to scarcity and fear, and that's just what kept recreating itself over and over and over again. So that's something that I needed to look at. I needed to clean up that energy, like just clean up the whole idea of scarcity, and realize that there's abundance, and that we are here to express what resonates, what wants to come out, what we're here to shine, we're here to share, we're here to connect, and whatever way that looks like for each of us, that is what we're here to do. And then the rest of it is going to take care of itself when we're willing to look at it. And another thing that I needed to see is that my attachment to looking at the results was also what I was looking at for validating that I was supposed to, that was the path I was supposed to be on, or that was what I was supposed to be, or what I was doing was worthwhile. And energy works the opposite of that. Instead of, like, if you just put something out there and then you're running to look at these outside circumstances to see if it validates, you're putting something expansive out and then hitting a contracted energy. Instead, what you have to do is you have to learn to validate yourself. Just give yourself permission and say, like, hey, I'm just expressive light. This is what wants to come out, and that goes hand in hand with exactly what God wants for me. So what's the problem? What's the big deal? And that creates a much more expansive energy when you do anything, when you share it. So we have to break the habit of looking towards these outside circumstances to tell us, like, you're on the right track, you're on the right path. No, just decide you're on the right path, because that's what resonates, and that carries a totally different energy than the other way. So if you're carrying this confident energy, like, this is what I'm here to do, this is what I'm doing, then that's the energy that's going to start to follow it. But again, if you put something out and then you contract and look again, that is just, so that was part of the problem. I was drawing a completely incorrect conclusion on what was happening in the past. I couldn't see that it was simply my own energy that was recreating the same results over and over. And so I just essentially put myself in a victim state, saying, I'm at the mercy of these outside circumstances that are, I guess, just saying, no, like, I am in sync with the universe. This is a beautiful, interconnected environment that we work together, and it's working together on resonance, and that resonance is coming to you because of your eternal connection to God, and those are the desires of your heart, and that's all working, and it's just flowing from that. It's flowing from that direction.
Emily has a question.
Let me read Elda's question.
Or Emily has
Or Emily, hang on, I gotta see if I can scroll. Emily, since you're back in the groove, yay, do you believe that you are supposed to be pursuing this as a career, since it does resonate with you? Yes, I do. I do feel strongly about that. And that's part of why I've decided to come back on Facebook Live, come back on just on sharing social media. I feel like this is expansive for me. I feel this is another thing, in realizing all of these insights that I've been having. All of a sudden, passion started to flow in me again. It stagnated. I mean, my whole energy system, I mean, it didn't completely, but it really stagnated just from mentally agreeing to something that the rest of my being didn't resonate with. I went into, like, just a stagnation because I still resonated with essentially wanting to do what I'm doing today. Anything that, it was like a sore spot that if someone was like, oh, hey, are you going to write another book? Are you going to share? And I'm just thinking, I've just tried to make peace with the fact that I'm not doing it. And just the fact that you're saying I've tried to make peace, that's just like such a harsh way to put things. It's like a telltale sign, and everything just seems super clear to me right now. But in those moments, I couldn't see that it was still a trigger point for me, for people to ask if I was still doing this, or could see myself doing this. I was like, are you kidding me? I just tried to make peace with that. And so that was kind of a long answer to your question, Emily. But yes, because this resonates, I'm back in the game, and I'm back here sharing, and hoping to do these Facebook Lives more. This is the first one, so just trying to get used to it and try to get to a speaking rhythm that's not like lit on fire with nervousness and excitement at the same time and starting to go like Speedy Gonzalez. So anyway, yes, I do feel that. Hang on, let me see what Elda says. Do you feel like social media keeps us from changing our mental commitments, or from feeling negative about our path we have put out there? I need to make sure I clearly understand it. Do you feel like social media keeps us from changing our mental commitment? Okay, I'm going to start sharing my thoughts on this, Elda, but if it's off track from your question, just write in a little bit more clarification. So, I think social media is awesome, especially as a tool like I'm using it right now. I think it's an amazing way to connect to one another, to share information. When I'm looking at playing a role in this collective awakening that I see that all of humanity is going towards, I think social media is one of the primary catalysts for it, and one of the most amazing amazing ways to connect to so many people from. And right now I'm out of. I mean, it would be awesome if I was at home, because then none of us really would have had to go anywhere. But the fact is, we're able to come together right now, and none of us have to drive to a physical location and share, like, just like 1 on 8, 1 on 10, 1 on 12, or 1 on 1. We're trying to just expand this, and social media gives that. I'm not sure if that's exactly the angle you're coming from, or if you're thinking about it more like an addiction to social media, like
feedback on social media.
Oh wait, do you
She
feel?
didn't say that, but I'm thinking.
Let me see if there's more. Mom says, great question. Are you talking about it more from the kind of the addiction to looking at our phones all the time, or the addiction to like what I was talking about earlier with the likes? Wait, do you feel like social media keeps you from changing our mental commitments, or from feeling negative? Hold on, I'm gonna wait to see if you write back in to see if that's the direction you were thinking of going in, or if there was another angle on that question with social media, or if anyone else has another question about that. Let's see. So some kind of just to reiterate some the major takeaways that I was trying to share from this this whole decision, or this whole situation of walking away and coming back to it, is one is knowing the difference between want and need. Want being a passion, which is just pure expression. No, passion in its pure sense, just we're all there's these beautiful lights that just want to light up, want to expand, and want to share, and want whatever that looks like for you. I mean, obviously, it's not going to look the same for each of us, but that's what makes each of us individuals. And then need and just knowing the difference between want and need, where need is all of a sudden you need some sort of reference to yourself, essentially, and it's stemming from some sort of lack belief in it, or it's always stemming from a lack belief, because if we remember that we're just these souls that have light that just want to expand, what do we need in return from that? We just need, that's what it is. We just share it and put it out there. And then always follow what resonates. I think that just might be like this my new passion to share in almost everything anytime I do a talk, because I overlooked it in such a major way. And again, just how you resonate is your higher self, or God, however you want to put it, speaking to you about. It's just a little indicator. You're on the right path. You're not on the right path. So it's like, how do you feel? And of course, how do you feel is how are you defining the situation. So you have to kind of look at that and bring yourself into alignment, and that is what the spiritual path is bringing ourself into full alignment from what resonates, because that's coming from the highest, to our mental agreement with that, to our physical actions that are following it. And it's just a constant adjustment, and we continue to refine that alignment through experience the best that we can. And it's all a process of just learning and integrating, and aligning, integrating, and then creates a tighter alignment. Not tighter and rigid, as tighter as in you're coming from the highest frequency available to you at that moment. Hang on, there's a few more things coming in. Let's see. Oh, good, Elda, that answered it. Marilyn, are these questions you ask yourself to see if... Oh, are there? Sorry. Are there questions you ask yourself to see if something resonates? I was really going on a feeling state, but the feeling state could have some additional inquiry, especially if your feeling state is coming from an incorrect conclusion or an incorrect definition. But I would try to use it as that initial feeling state in terms of, does it feel exciting? Does it feel expansive? Or are you contracting? Or are you also just like the biggest telltale sign for me that I was out of alignment was there was just this excessive negativity that was coming out of me that I wasn't used to. And I remember making some statements to my mom saying, like, how come I felt better like 10 years ago when I was first coming onto the path than I feel right now? And then I was drawing these conclusions, like I'm just in this certain space right now, and it's just like essentially I need to do some more healing, and but when I come out, it's just going to be like this even brighter light. That's essentially the story I was telling myself. But I think that was incorrect, because I wasn't resonating with what I had chosen in a high enough frequency to break through it in a way, in that initially envisioned way. It essentially required me aligning back to the path that I was on previously, to see like that's what's lighting me up. And then still having all the same like juicy things to go through. It's just, for me, I had to recognize that I'm not going to be able to plow through this path that just looks at inner experience before the physical experience has occurred. I'm someone who still is going to require the physical experience to prompt the true processing to occur. But those who are able to do it in that path I talked about in the beginning, that very like straight and plow through directly ahead, I mean, that's bold and courageous and beautiful and amazing. And one of the things I had to recognize in myself is that I wasn't one of those people. Yeah, I had come to the state of wanting to be and thinking I was, and I was, I had a mentor who represented that fully, and everything just stood for that being the bolder, more direct path, and that's part of why I got caught in agreeing with it without it fully resonating. Hang on, let's see. Emily, do you feel that we should focus on one passion at a time, or that we can easily balance pursuing multiple passions? That's a really good question. For me, I am not someone who has actually experienced having to balance multiple passions. Part of my story is that it was a long time for me to find the thing that I was passionate about. And even in this last year of stepping away from the thing that I was passionate about, I kept thinking, I'm just going to find a new passion. And I found things I liked, but I didn't find things that I was super passionate about. So I'm not personally the best person to answer that question, but I will give you a couple of answers that I've heard other people give. So conventional wisdom is usually pick one passion and put all your efforts towards that. But then if that feels stifling, I've also heard Marie Forleo always talks about the term being a multi-passionate. She calls herself a multi-passionate entrepreneur, and she figures out how to blend her passions into what she's doing. So she creates something completely unique. Or I was watching Lindsay Sterling, the girl who can dance and play the violin. I was watching this really incredible interview with her the other day, and so she does something. So she was passionate about dance, and she was passionate about playing the violin, and typically those are two separate things, but she found a way to blend them and create a whole new art. So I'm not sure if that, there's not exactly one answer. Again, just checking in to see what resonates. Hang on, I can't see. Oh, okay. And sorry, that was Shanda letting me know something about the comments. So yeah, I think I answered that, Emily. Emily, I know you have a lot of passions, and I would just say like trying to blend them in, or if some fell into the category of then I would not put as much attention towards those, and really try to put your attention towards those top passions that you just can hardly pull yourself away from. Does that help, Emily?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, she did. I didn't even see it yet. Okay. Keep the questions coming. I think this is pretty good. I think we're doing good on being pretty interactive. I really appreciate all of you tuning in and interacting. This is the whole point of it. It's a pretty cool tool that Facebook has. Okay, so I was kind of recapping the 5 takeaways. So of course, always follow what resonates. And then I like the one about beware of being the meat-loving vegetarian yogi, because that I think that sneaks up on us, and it really does sneak up on us, and we don't realize what's happening. For those who may have joined the conversation a little bit later, the analogy I shared with beware of being the meat-loving vegetarian yogi is essentially someone who is who is excited about becoming a yogi, and they're just very passionate and committed to the tenets that being a yogi stands for. And of those tenets, one of them could be being a vegetarian. So let's say they're like, oh, they're full on in and they're ready to take it all in and commit. And then, you know, a week or two later, they go to a barbecue and they're serving meat, and they have this kind of like this exciting, passionate response, like, ooh, meat, I want a burger. And then in the same like split second, another thought quickly comes over and says, no, like you're a yogi now, you're a vegetarian. Remember, that's animal cruelty, or that's, you know, whatever it is for the reason for choosing to become a vegetarian. But and then all of a sudden you start judging the people who are eating the meat. So that creates like this like negative poison starts to come out of you.